Science finally confirms what happens when we die. Part 3. Is hell real?
90%, that's almost everyone, will go through this phase of going into this alternate reality and back again, and will have to give up everything and go towards non-duality. So it's enormously important. My work showed that you would go into this alternate reality, you would have your deathbed visitors, and then you would slowly come up to death, and many people would in fact then transcend. I had the same pact with Paul that if I died before him, he'd come be with me. But in fact, I was lucky because I was there the day before he died. He was sort of going down into unconsciousness. And he said to his wife, "Tell Peter Fenwick, it's exactly as we've discussed." And then he died. Interesting. I mean, you can't get it much closer than that. So I think the picture that we have of dying, from the evidence of dying people, is actually quite good. And I think you have to think about giving everything up and then becoming non-dual and merging. We have accounts of people who've said, it's all material. I'm just going to go into blackness. Nothing.
And they say this beforehand.
Beforehand. That's their belief structure.
Mm-hmm.
And what is quite clear is that as they come into the death process, they've all given up that idea, and they all start looking forward to what's what's happening to them. And they don't say they don't believe in anything anymore. The sort of things they say, one woman who was absolutely sure that there was nothing there, kept on waking up from a coma saying, "Come on, get on with it, because I want to move on," do you see? And that was quite different from what her stance was.
Many of my colleagues, many doctors would say these are just hallucinations. What do you say about that?
So people say all these things that we were finding in the dying are hallucinations. Well, this is terminology, isn't it? What is a hallucination? A hallucination is an experience that you have and nobody else does. So there are many hallucinations. So the fact that they're hallucinations really is saying nothing. But if you look at the data, then people, relatives in the same room, quite often, no, not quite often, rarely see the deathbed visitors, but they do see them. There are quite good accounts. Children see them more than adults, and occasionally the hospice nurses see them. So on that ground, they're not hallucinations in those cases. So why are you going to say some are hallucinations and some aren't? It doesn't make any sense. Calling them hallucinations mean that you're just keen to get rid of the topic. Now let's talk about something interesting. So some people report hellish experiences. I have a lot of difficulty with hellish experiences because in the ones that we took from our survey, or from the letters which people wrote, there was always a clear explanation of what a hellish experience was. I'll give you an example. This man had a near-death experience. He suddenly realized that he had left his body and was in a hellish realm. And there were loads of devils there, and they kept on pricking him and torturing him. And he knew he was in a hellish realm because he could feel the flames of hell burning him. Now, as he got better, because he was in intensive care, he realized that hellish experiences were in fact coming from the heating pad he was lying on, and that led to a misinterpretation of the heat sensory data. And the devils, so it's quite easy to see, because he said these were the nurses that were coming in and giving him injections and doing things like that. But the question is there a hell? Is there really a hellish realm that people go into? Well, not. I've had no death experience, no true death experience, in which people have reported that there's a hell. They just don't do it. near-death experiences in our sample, it was 4%. Now that may be lower because remember ours was a letter writing survey, and are you really going to write into somebody who's done a program on NDEs and say I spent my NDE being punished and pulled by devils? Of course you're not. Mm-hmm. So we got probably an underrepresentation of that. Death is a normal part of living, and in fact you accept death when you accept birth. In fact, birth and dying are all part of the same continuum, and that it's going to happen to us, and it's nothing to be afraid of or fearful of. What you have to do is, like when you go into an exam, you want to be prepared for it. Well, when you go into the final exam of death, you want to be prepared for it.